Okay, in this lesson I'm going to talk about box shadow. Again, it's a type of style that I can apply to any HTML command. Okay, so I'm going to use a class as an example in this lesson. Remember, what's the difference between a class and ID? A class, number one, it starts with a period, okay, and then whatever we want to call it, ABC, and then define your style. Okay, in this case, we're going to do box shadow, and we'll go over the basics of it. The other option is to do it as an ID. So we do it simply pound, we put the pound sign, and then ABC, and we do exactly that. How I declare it is slightly different. I did pound sign ABC, I think, in the last lesson with hover, so I'm going to do a class today. So anyway, box shadow, let's go with the basics here. First thing is how much of a shadow I want on the left or the right. By default, it shows up on the right here, 3 pixels, and then 5 pixels here at the bottom. Well, let's start with the basics there, okay? So, really quickly, in this declaration for box shadow, I want a shadow of 3 pixels on the right, 5 pixels down at the bottom, like a box shadow. Now, in my body command, I'm going to go declare that class div bracket div class equals whatever you call it, ABC. Now you can use this class with any number of HTML commands. In this case, I'm going to say this is easy, and then do /div. Good to go. So anyway, that's the website we've got. So Control S, refresh, and then click on my box shadow demo, and there you go. Okay, so I've got here, in this case, black, because I haven't specified a color. So to my right, I've got 3 pixels. To the bottom, I've got 5 pixels. Okay, now needless to say, I don't like black. So you can go ahead and specify a color, Control S. In this case, now my now my shadow is green. Box shadow is green. I also want to talk about here another option you can do is alpha. So you can do RGBA. It allows me to add some transparency to it. I have not looked up alpha. Let's do 120, 120, 120. I'm not sure what color that is. And then I want an alpha of 0.4. Okay, now I have a closing ending bracket. So now I have my box shadow, 3, 5, and then I've got this color, 120 by 120. I'm not quite sure what it is. We'll find out here in a minute. Control S, refresh, and there you go. So I can add some transparency. It looks sort of slightly purplishly gray, at least from my video. Okay, so just to give you some options of what you can do. Okay, so let's go continuing on. The next thing I want to talk about, I'm going to go back to green here. The next option you've got is blur. So blur allows me to add a little blur to my drop shadow. So I'm going to put in green here, I'll put 10 px. Control S, save. And now I have a drop shadow with a little bit of a blur in it of 10 pixels on the left and on the right. Okay. Now, just a couple things I forgot to talk about. We can do also, by default, it is on the right. But if I do negative, it is on the left. And then if I do a negative here, it's on the top. And in this case, I'll keep my blur here the same. I want my color to be the same. Control S, refresh, and now my color is here at the top and at the bottom. Okay, at the top and at the left, not the bottom. Sorry, misspoke. Next one I want to talk about is spread radius, which means I want to control. Okay, even though I have a vertical offset, vertical and horizontal offset, I want to spread it. I can do that. The knock here is it will go the entire way around. So let's go, maybe I want to fix 15 pixels as my spread. Control S. By default, it's 0. So positive 15 pixel, it increased my spread by 15 pixels. Control S, refresh, and see what we got. And then I have it spread all the way around. Now you'll notice that the blur is only on the top and on the right. What happened to the spread? Because I didn't specify a spread here. All I got was completely green at the top and completely green on the left, without that look, without that blur. Okay. So again, let's go ahead and play some game. Well, one more thing you can do with it. I just want to mention this in starting is inset. I can have the inset. Let's go change this. One more little inset, and then I can go ahead and put 10 pixels, blur of 5. Control S, inset. What it does, like with border, I can inset my shadow. So let's go Control S, and you will notice that. Let's double check, refresh, and there you go. So now I've got it here. Now the doesn't go on the outside, it goes on the inside. But sometimes that it's a nice look. This is easy. You can see I've got my shadow inset on the inside. Okay. For those of you who are sort of alert, really quickly, hey, you'll notice a little quick something here. -3 I thought would be at the top and the left. Why is negative at the bottom and the right? Because it's an inset, positive is at the top. So let's change this. 3, 5, Control S, refresh. Now it's at the top and to the left. So just think of inset. Inset will flip your typical horizontal and vertical offset. Inset in this case will be, if I wanted to go back, I would simply make it negative. Or, again, if I don't want the inset, let's go refresh, Control S, and there you go. And then you get it going. Now this is not inset, it's on the outside. A little technical thing, but if you can get a good feel for this when we start talking about photos and other things, you've already gone through it with simple text. It'll be easy to add a box shadow to an image or whatever you like to do. Okay, and then finally one last one is where I want the image only to be on one side. So let's go ahead and do that. So I don't want a left, right. I want to make this 0. I can make this whatever, let's say 8, and let's do 10, and well, let's do 5 pixels, and then 5 pixels. Okay, then green. Okay. In this case, what's going to happen? I'm going to have 3 pixels that shove off the control review. There you go. So now I'm going to have 3 pixels here that show up here as a simple box shadow. Okay. Now, hey, how did that work? Well, if I had gone ahead, let's get my notepad back up. If I had changed this to something greater than 8, so I said my box shadow, my left and right I said is going to be 0. And then I said, in this case, my bottom was going to be 8 pixels. And then I put a blur of only 5. If I made my blur bigger, and then I wanted to spread it to -5, so I'm canceling it out. If this number would have been bigger, I would have gotten nothing. Okay, so let's go ahead just to demonstrate it. Control S, refresh, and then I get nothing. Okay, so again, as long as this blur is smaller than my horizontal offset, maybe 3 and -3. -3 is my blur. -3 is with it, and then Control S. I now get that sort of that one-sided box shadow blur. Okay, so anyway, this is just a tutorial on box shadow. It's a little detailed, but it allows you to do a lot with just box shadow to get the look that you want. Let me go ahead and I got an exercise here. Let me try to bring it up. In which I did all different types Just play around with it. I think I'll put it up on the website. Let me get it before HTML. And examples of box shadows. I did these all with classes. There you go. So there you go. So all these, I did a Google font effect here, and all these are various types of shadows, which I can end up doing with simply box shadows. So just play around with it. It's a little detailed, but you can get the look that you want once you've got command of box shadow.